The dueling threats issued by U.S. President Donald Trump and the North Korean military have prompted questions about U.S. procedures to launch a preemptive nuclear attack. The answer is stark. If the president wants to strike, his senior military advisors have few options but to carry it out or to resign. The arrangement has existed for decades, but is salient after Trump warned on Tuesday that future threats by North Korea would be met with fire and fury and, frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence with Defense Secretary Jim Mattis sent a greet military personnel during their visit to the Pentagon last month. Photo app Pyongyang responded by saying it was considering a preemptive missile strike against Guam, and Trump doubled down on his remarks on Thursday by refusing to take a U.S. preemptive strike off the table and suggesting his previous comments might not have been tough enough. "I don't talk about it," Trump said of a potential preemptive strike. "We'll see what happens." Administration officials, including Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, have sought to ease the tension, while at the same time warning North Korea that if it carried out an attack, it would be met with a crushing response. But they have also underscored that it is Trump's prerogative to use whatever rhetoric he believes is appropriate as commander-in-chief. "I was not elected. The American people elected the president," Mattis told reporters traveling with him on Wednesday. "The rhetoric is up to the president." The fire and fury controversy has renewed questions among critics about whether Trump has the appropriate temperament to control the U.S. nuclear arsenal. It also follows a Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, first reported on Tuesday, that North Korea had successfully produced a miniaturized nuclear warhead that could fit inside its missiles. A U.S. Air Force B-1B Lancer arrives at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. Photo U.S. Air Force via app. During his campaign, Trump promised that he would do everything in my power never to be in a position where we will have to use nuclear power. But he also repeatedly declined to say whether he would use nuclear weapons first in a conflict. On Thursday, he said he would like to de-nuke the world, but that, until other countries got rid of their nuclear weapons, we will be the most powerful nuclear nation in the world by far. A December 2016 assessment by the Congressional Research Service stated that a U.S. president does not need the concurrence of either his military advisors or the U.S. Congress to order the launch of nuclear weapons. Additionally, the assessment said, neither the military nor Congress can overrule these orders. The reason is simple. The system is set up for the U.S. to launch an attack within minutes, so that if the U.S. is under a nuclear attack, it can respond almost instantly, Bruce Blair, a former nuclear watch officer, said. Before launching a preemptive attack, Trump would presumably meet Mattis, his chief of staff John Kelly, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs General Joseph Dunford and the White House National Security Advisor Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster. However, it would really be uncharted territory if they sought to stall or slow down an order from the president, Blair said. Under the existing War Powers Act of 1973, a president is also not required to seek congressional approval for any military action until 60 days after the start of a war. With new legislation in January, lawmakers Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California, and Senator Edward Markey, a Democrat from Massachusetts, sought to stop the president from launching a first-strike nuclear attack until Congress declares war, but the effort hasn't gone anywhere and is unlikely to do so with Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress. Jeffrey Lewis, an expert on nuclear matters at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies, said that he had mixed feelings about the legislation proposed, but it would be better than what we have now. Trump, he said, is a walking, one-man campaign for ending nuclear deterrence, the long-held U.S. policy in which it maintains a robust nuclear arsenal in order to prevent other countries from launching a nuclear attack. But Lewis argued it would also be irresponsible to give any president control of nuclear weapons, but then create a system under which those weapons could not be used. It would be better to maintain a small number of nuclear weapons to be used only if the U.S. was attacked, Lewis said. Stephen Hayward, a conservative policy scholar, said that, if Trump's senior military advisors stood united against carrying out a preemptive nuclear strike, the real remedy would be resignation. Hypothetically, doing so might trigger impeachment proceedings, Hayward said, but it isn't clear whether it would be quick enough to stop the president from launching an attack. It could happen, Hayward said. It would be pretty dramatic and it would be very unclear what would happen, but it could happen. We're really in uncharted waters here. Bruce Ackerman, a professor of law and political science at Yale University, said that the principle of civilian control of the military also loomed large even when the civilian in control is as unpredictable and belligerent as President Trump. Latin American nations have modeled their constitutions along U.S. lines, and their experiences suggest that terrible consequences follow when generals defy their presidents, even under compelling circumstances. Worse yet, once the principle is violated, it becomes a precedent for future generals to take the law into their own hands, Ackerman said. We cannot allow this dynamic to take hold here. If Trump's team can't convince him, they should obey the orders of their commander-in-chief. The Washington Post.